Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Fritz Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talkhouse Podcast. I'm Josh Modell. On this week's episode, we've got a pair of performers and friends who recently collaborated on a great single, Suki Waterhouse and Ashe. Now, Waterhouse came into the public eye as a model and later an actress, but she's always had a passion for music. As you'll hear in this chat, she started recording songs before she had any notion that they might end up out in the world. Her slightly subdued sub-pop debut came out in 2022, after which she had a sort of unexpected viral hit with an older song called Good Looking. A second album, the more upbeat Memoir of a Sparkle Muffin, came out just a few months ago, and she's been on tour behind it while also juggling new motherhood. In fact, she zoomed into this conversation while visiting her movie star dude in Boston before heading out to play more shows. You can Google the boyfriend if you must know. The other half of today's conversation is Ashe, a Nashville-based songwriter who had a pretty big hit with her 2019 song Moral of the Story, and another a couple of years later with Phineas called Till Forever Falls Apart. But the grind of success forced Ashe to hit the brakes on her career for a bit in order to regroup and hang on to her sanity. A collaboration with Waterhouse lit the spark for Ashe once again, and she came back this year with a great record called Wilson, and retook the stage to perform their song, Pushing Daisies, at the Greek Theater. Check out a little bit of that song right here.
I dreamt you hate me, so we fought and then we broke up. You packed your things and called your mom and then I woke up. When I rolled over, I saw you and you were sleeping. So unaware that I was angry and I'm leaving. Why can't I ever dream of daisies?
In this lively chat, Waterhouse and Ashe talk about the intensity of performing live in front of thousands of people, about how Suki is having fun playing the more lively songs for her new record, and about the need to not overschedule yourself, even when the pressure is on. Enjoy.
My God, Ash, is this Christmas decoration?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
I went so crazy. You have to see the house. It's pretty holly jolly in here.
Beautiful. Absolutely stunning.
I like your sweats.
Oh yeah.
Little stripes.
It's like waking up in Boston.
Oh, you're in Boston. Good. Okay, so I was thinking you were in LA. What on earth is she doing? Doing a podcast with me at 7 a.m. That's ridiculous.
No, definitely not 7 a.m. Thank Lord. But
Okay, good.
yes.
So you're ahead of
in
me.
Boston, living my New England life.
Are you about to?
very
Are you playing a show in Boston?
I will in a couple of weeks, but no, I'm just visiting Rob at the moment. He's filming, so I'm just like, yeah, come and hung out. And it's actually a pretty awesome place. Kind of love.
Boston? Yeah, you know, I went to college there. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
No way. Isn't it? It's quite stunning, I have to say.
It's a cute little school. I was just out there with Phineas and I did this panel where we spoke there. And it was like I was like in the middle of like my hibernation period. And it was the first time I had done any sort of public event. And he had just won his second Oscar. And I was like, I've been painting a lot. I don't know what I have to offer you guys right now, but yeah, it's a really sweet school. Students are cool.
Oh, did he go there as well?
No, he didn't. Homie didn't go to school.
Oh
No.
yeah, he didn't. Yeah,
Pretty cool.
which turned well, I guess.
You didn't do uni, right?
I didn't know.
Yeah, all the cool kids don't do it.
I think I actually dreamt last night that I went to a really prestigious school.
Really?
Yeah, I've just remembered that. It was like really blissful. Maybe it was like inspired by walking around here and seeing all the students. But yeah, it just felt like it was like a really serene experience. And I was just learning about art history and I felt like so knowledgeable about a lot of things. And it was just like this kind of utopia where nothing else, there wasn't like any other like life matters. It was just like all about good learning.
You were maybe you were at Harvard.
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of like latent desire there. But yeah, I never like made it to university. And in the grand scheme of things, I feel good about it.
Yeah, I loved my school experience, but I really went because I thought, A, that's what I was supposed to do. And B, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Like, I didn't know I wanted to be a music artist when I went to music school.
But did you start when you were writing in Nashville for years and stuff like that? Did you go being like, I want to be a musical artist? Or did you start and be like, oh, I want to be a musician? No, I want to be a writer for people. And then did you start having your musical project yourself?
I had a lot more confidence in my writing abilities than like my ability to be a music artist. And I think like it's funny too. I think a lot of those insecurities came to a head when I was at like the peak of my career, and which is like ironically when I decided to sort of quit a bit. And it's but all those insecurities like I'm not good enough. I'm not like cut out for this. I don't have the personality that can like handle the sort of like public limelight, a very public life, all that stuff like kind of was initially why I was like, I don't think I can be a music artist. And then, years later, not dealing with maybe some of those insecurities, they came up. But anyways.
Yeah. I think me and Rob were talking about that the other day. We were like talking about like the mental fortitude that you kind of have to like even like having a job that doesn't have like a regular paycheck.
Yeah.
Being like, oh, is this actually going to be okay? Because some years, like, it's really just like some years it's like not. And like, especially with the music industry, it's like I don't know. I don't think people like know how dicey it is, basically. It's like fucking dicey.
Yeah, like there's not a lot of stability to it.
No.
And there's also like you can be on top of the world one minute and like everyone's praising you like you're a god, and then the next minute you're being thrown around like a rag doll.
No one has the mental fortitude for that, basically, because it's just like so flimsy.
Yeah. I was talking to a music artist, another touring act, who was like, I don't think anyone should feel this amount of extreme sort of like, I don't know, like the intensity of a crowd when you get on stage, and it's like this like kind of tsunami wave of whoosh. And he was like, I don't know that humans are like supposed to feel that. And I was like, well, I mean, that's what we signed up for, but it is kind of a wait. Speaking of which, how did that last run do? How's your mental fortitude?
My mental fortitude was great. I mean, I only did 2 weeks. Now I'm having like a month off, and then I'm going back for like 3.5 weeks, which is like a lot different. Like 2.5 weeks is kind of right. It's pretty nice. If anything, I got to the end and was like, oh, I feel like I could have gone longer. I was like, just feeling like I was getting into the swing of it, but I really enjoyed the shows. Tour is getting more and more enjoyable, especially like having a second album out that isn't like, it's quite fun, like not having an album that's like all sort of quite like morose and depressing and like
melodramatic.
No, or just like the first record's quite like sad, and the second record that I don't know, that stuff just like didn't come out of me as much, and there was much more of a variety and like having more music and different iterations of myself coming through. And I think from the first record, I was like afraid of like all these weird things, like, oh, I can't do anything that's like too upbeat or like seems like pop, or like people, I don't know, I had like all these things like people can't think I'm trying to be like a pop star or like, I don't know, just like whatever. And like all this shit writing the second one, I just don't, like you have new things to think about, but a lot of those things I'd like let go of. And so, yeah, I have, all these songs like My Fun, which is like so enjoyable and full of joy. And I get to run around and put like big heart-shaped sunglasses on and feel like kind of like have this like positivity. I'm like really in love with the set list at the moment.
It's so good.
It's so good when you feel like your set list is kind of like, I've really worked on like being this kind of like journey where actually I feel like on stage, like the hour and 15 or whatever, 20, it breezes through because it feels, there's like a kind of storyline and I'm not really ever bored on stage.
Yeah. You're entertaining yourself too. Being able to have those moments of like, okay, I'm going to like have this big fun moment and all this joy and everyone's going to dance. And then in 2 songs from now, we're going to rest for a bit and we're going to get sort of internal and melodramatic and feelsy. And then after that, we're going to like, what's coming and that there's like a little bit of, like you said, there's a storyline to it. I just have to say, the LA show I saw was unbelievable. And the set list was just like, I feel like the hard truth about me is I'm incredibly critical of everyone, myself, and even my friends. And I watched her show and I went, she's a star. Like you're so meant to be doing what you're doing. And I was so like, not at all surprised because you're you and you're like gorgeous and fun and talented and all the things, but I was entertained the entire time. And I do feel like that's not always true of me watching.
Oh, that's such a massive compliment. But you have the same thing. Like you literally, your shows are like electrifying. It's insane. You like ray sunshine into your audience and it like reverberates around them. Like you have like, it's complete and utter. Like I don't know, like you must feel that about yourself too, that you're just like such a fucking natural performer. I'm like so annoyed with you if you don't think that. But did you like always want, because I've only started being on stage in the last, like, I was like just looking at this thing. I did the show at the Winston House 3 years ago yesterday. And that was like
crazy.
Like that's not that long ago. And that was like one of the first shows that I did. And so, I've been like on, I guess like it's, 3 years and a lot of like quite painful shows in between.
Wasn't maybe one of your first ever shows was that festival? I think I was in Bottle Rock.
First time I on stage, like as a band.
I was floored. Yeah. And I was like hanging out in the crowd with Rob and we're like having a beer and having a good time. And I was like, she's doing it. Like it was so insane. I remember thinking, she's got this.
It definitely has been like sometimes a bit rocky and painful because even just like not knowing like how to run a tour, like what I needed for a long time, like even just from like a sound point of view to like make the show enjoyable myself. But I definitely always like felt like I wanted to be up there. Like, did you always have that thing where you were like, oh, I know that like I'm able to offer something like up there? Like I feel like I want to be on that stage.
I think, yes. I think when I was sort of like a little girl, I was such an entertainer. Like I wanted so badly for every room I walked into to like, I just wanted to light it up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember putting on all these little performances for my family around Christmas. And then I think sadly, and like a lot of kids, I think a lot of that light died for a while. And I, went through some, family trauma and puberty and growing up and, a lot of stuff got in the way. And I think when I decided that, okay, I can be an artist, I sort of was remembering what it was like to be that little girl again and to be like, I know I do have something to offer and to like really, wow. I said that and like the light just like came in the room. So pretty.
Wow.
Yeah. Like maybe this ability to put people at ease and show them a good time. And life is hard. And shows are so special and powerful and they can like really make such a difference in people's lives. So I feel really honored that like it's something I get to do, but it really put me through the ringer. And I think insert lots of therapy and time with like, I started seeing this like musician burnout coach. Her name is Claire CVA. And she was like kind of coaching me through, she's basically telling me and reminding me some of the stuff we go through on stage, people don't see, but like the amount of adrenaline and cortisol that's released in our bodies is the same as a fight or flight response.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're having a blast and you're spreading joy and maybe you're feeling a lot of joy on stage, your body is going through like a stress response.
Like a horror movie.
Like a horror movie. Yeah.
It's like everyone watching you And like, is like, it's almost like you're on the edge of your seat. Like, is something, is it going to be cool or is it going to be like horrendous?
Yeah. And apparently our bodies have to, I think there's like some 24 hours it takes for our like hormones to go back to baseline. But when you're on tour, by the time your hormone levels have sort of settled, you're already playing the next show and you're back up. I'm kind of verbally processing this as I'm talking, but I'm thinking about like, I'm going back out on tour next year and I'm thinking about how to sort of manage that. I know I'm meant to do this. I love it so much. And I know that it's something special that I get to do this and fans get to come. But how do I also do it in a way that I stay healthy?
Well, you told me the other day, I was like, Ash, I'm dying. Because I did feel like at the beginning, I think it was almost like a shock to the system, maybe the first week or 10 days. And I got quite sick. And like the bus, you know, you're breathing in that just hideous air, even when you're like humidified. And I was like texting you or like talking to you because after the Greek, I was meant to get a 6 a.m. flight after that show.
At some point, I told my manager and I was just like, I either need the rest so I can keep going or I'm going to keep going until I hit a wall and then I'm going to quit. And then there's no continuing. And yeah, when you texted me that, I think I told you, I told my team three shows max in a row. And maybe sometimes you just need someone to tell you like, that's not normal. And you, like, it's okay to take a break.
That's the thing though. Like, no, I don't think anyone in like our teams or whatever, they don't set out to be like, oh, that's like break her. It just sort of happens, doesn't it? It's like, oh, the rap like this. And then, oh, it's a really good opportunity, but like, we can't not do this and da da da. And you kind of go and slowly you're like, oh, okay. And then like, oh, how do you feel? But it's like, you know, you could just get on the plane and go and do it. And you kind of go, oh, okay. I don't think it's like malicious, but like they don't necessarily go, oh, what is that really like?
Well, and they're not in like our shoes.
No, they're at home. And
yeah. And like even on paper, sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, of course that. On paper, that looks smart or like that looks good.
You have to have your days off when you get them and they have to be like, they just have to be right. You can't be moving on them. They just, it's perfect and it's so necessary.
Yeah. 0 days are as important as like full on days, I feel. And my tour manager once told me that because I was on my 2022 headline tour, which was like sort of the peak of where I was at and success. And I was just churning out stuff and I was putting out an album.
I would like look at you, like watch you just even from a distance and be like, you are churning so fucking hard, like on every single, on like you were churning the albums, you were churning like the way like your marketing and how you like push everything was like unbelievable. Like I was like, how the fuck? And you were constantly on tour.
Yeah, I was on tour for just like the whole year.
Yeah.
But like while I was putting out that album, I was on the road and I think I had like some marketing call I was supposed to get on my like one day off. And my tour manager was like, you cannot do that. Like you have to take a 0 day. And the 0 days are as important as anything else.
Were you writing on the road? Like how did you make stuff like, or would you just have like little times off where you would just make your records?
I had finished the record like right before I went out on that tour. So I was like promoting it and doing marketing for it mid-tour.
Right.
It just seems like I just never was off the road. Like, because then it was like headline tour, US, then Europe, UK, then it was summer festivals, then it was one-offs, then it was Australia, and it just never stopped. And I was like, did I say yes to all of it?
I know that's the thing. You're like, how? Because you say yes so much in advance as well. And then you don't like, because it needs to be so much in advance. And then you don't factor in the fact that there's like a billion other things that happen around that. And like, so many things that you're not going to know are going to be in the ether like 6 months before.
Well, and like, lest we forget like our personal lives,
Yeah.
just like the very private lives that we, hold so sacred and have to nurture. And like, you have a freaking baby, that's like,
that's like maybe slightly more. That's like definitely, I don't know. It's been kind of cool that part, because it's almost like a barrier between something where it's like, I'm like, well, it's not just about me. I have to like make it make sense for the baby. So like, even with, with this tour, when I was kind of like approaching it, I was like, no, like it can't be for too long. Like it has to be, we're going to have like 2.5 weeks, and let's make it mostly West Coast, and then we'll break. And because we've got to come and like see her dad and like hang out, and like not, I can't just like go for 7 weeks and even take her with me and like kind of break up the family like that. So it kind of like starts you. It's been this like kind of awesome. It's like a little bit more of a barrier in a way where I'm like, okay, if I can't do it totally for myself,
I feel like it's probably harder. Setting boundaries for ourselves can be harder, because that whole like, well, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger, or the more I say yes, like the better my career is going to do, but maybe when you're loving or protecting someone else, those boundaries are easier to sort of put in place. You do.
You're just like, I guess like certain issues with like boundaries, or like not have for me, it's like just not having any boundaries, I suppose. I don't really have any. There's like, and maybe also this weird thing of like priding myself on pushing so much, but I genuinely think like, I think I'm going to make like better music from not throwing myself around the world so much. I'm not like worried that not saying no a little bit more is gonna like kind of fuck up anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's times where you're going to be pushing like really hard, and it's still going to be like crazy, and that there just are times like that. Sometimes that's just the fact of it. Sometimes it's just like fucking go time.
Do you feel like it's a part of your identity being a hard worker, or like, I feel like that got me into trouble, was like part of my identity was, I'm going to be the one that pushes through. Like when other people can't handle it, I'm going to handle it. And I think that maybe got me in trouble. I don't know if you relate to that at all, but
yeah, I definitely do. A big part of like my engine definitely came from trying to like run away from like labels or perceptions, especially with like music. It was like, I was so aware of getting kind of like shot down, and just kind of, it definitely kind of, sometimes like having that engine of like the fear of failure can be quite like kind of energizing sometimes.
Yeah.
That thing where you're like, I've got like a lot to prove. Like, I don't know. I find that actually quite exhilarating sometimes.
I completely relate to that. Even right now, I underestimated how much I'd have to sort of feel like I'm clawing my way back to the very public life. There was so many people that counted me out, and so many people that were like, she gave up. And like, in a very sort of vulnerable and honest way, I think I was, my own insecurities, like I told you, like, do I have what it takes? And then I had a bunch of people being like, she doesn't have what it takes.
Right. And excuse me, I fucking do. Like, what?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
And
you're like fucking had a moment out. Like, doesn't mean that I'm not going to come back fucking hard as much.
Yeah. There's that little bit of energy that's like, or a lot of bit of energy that's like, watch me.
Yeah.
You don't think I have what it takes. Just sit and watch. And what's like a little bit funny is those people, when you're back on top of the world, those are also the people who are like, I always believed in you. I always knew you.
The comedian. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm like,
yeah.
Anyways, that's just like my ego talking a little bit.
Yeah.
But
it like nothing wrong with the little ego getting thrown around, right? It's like it's like it's part of it.
It is part of it. Yeah. But I mean, the joy of being back has been amazing. Or like when I got to just sing with you at the Greek, there was just this like electricity,
Yeah.
Like feels good. Feels good to be back at it. And just feel so, I feel so honored that, you know, you were willing to sort of like open up your arms too to me as I was like coming back to it.
Oh my God, of course, an icon, a legend. Like I'm so lucky.
Yeah.
I am so lucky.
Yeah. Well, what do you, so you're in Boston and you're having a little bit of a break. I love that. When you go back out on the road, is that in like a week? You back out?
Yeah, in like a little bit over a week. I've just been here for a second and I found a studio like down the street from where I was staying. And it's been fun, like just kind of tying up. It's actually cool to be like, you know, out of LA, sort of being like, okay, what songs do I still kind of like? So I had a producer friend of mine drive down from New York yesterday. I'm like, just come down. I found a studio just down the street. So we finished up a song that I've been waiting to finish for a long time. And then I was just in upstate New York, went and did some sessions there, which was like an hour and a half away, which was pretty cool. So like, yeah, I've been like making, I guess like, yeah, starting to just have little sketches of ideas for next music and like thinking about what kind of want to have like a post-album single.
Yeah.
And then I just wrote a song for my friend's TV show, for Lena Dunham's show, which I've been watching and just think it's like the most hysterical thing ever. It's so funny.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, really fun.
It seems like you have a lot of like, even in this sort of like interim off the road, there's still a lot of like fuel that you're pulling from and like you're inspired. That's such a fun place to be in.
Yeah, I'm like off a little bit, but definitely inspired. But those breaks and stuff do make you feel quite inspired, don't they?
Do you feel like, I feel like something that I really admired about you when you chose to like take on music, you know, kind of shift lanes and make this thing that, you know, hasn't been as much of a focus in your professional life. I was always so inspired by the fact that you were like, this is such a passion of mine and I'm ready to sort of like put my whole self into it. Do you feel like now that it's like, this is a job? I don't
know if that like really happened or if like, I guess like somewhere it kind of did, but like it only happens with music, like this stuff or anything. It only happens because the fans allow it to happen, you know? Like, and I was always like putting out music. I was putting out music from like 2016. So like the reasons and the feelings and like the desires have actually been there for like a long time. It was always that like desire to kind of make things and share things. And that's been like a kind of constant. And like the only thing that sort of changed was like, I don't know. So, yeah, suddenly like, there was like more of an audience and I was able to go and like book a show and like go on tour. And like, that's just like happened the last couple of years. You know, I made my album, I Can't Let Go. Like I made it by myself. I didn't have a label at that point. And I kind of, you know, just like made it and was going to put it out. And then it got picked up by Sub Pop. And then randomly like a song I'd made like 8 years ago, Good Looking, which I'd already released, put on DistroKid myself. Like that song had this like second life. And then I signed those songs back to Sub Pop. And that was probably the only reason why I even got to make a second record with them or like got picked up for a second record because that song it was like a wave from the past almost like being like, hey, here's a little helping hand because that definitely, that like helped me make Memoir of a Sparkle Muffin. I'm not sure that they would have like signed me to do another record.
Yeah, because when we met, you were working on that like first. You were sort of like working with a few different producers maybe. And I don't think you were signed yet, not when we first met. And I remember going to that dinner together and maybe you were asking me about my label a bit and my experience. And I don't think you had been...
What do they do?
Yeah, what do they do? Well, let me tell you. That's a whole other podcast. But
we need like a music podcast where like we like break down. I feel like that would be so fascinating. I would love like a music industry podcast from like an which like broke down because there's so many.
Well, and look at us in our position, or you know, it's part of the reason why there's conversations starting about like there's no middle class in like the music industry because like, look at how expensive it is for us to even put on a show. It's really just like not super talked about. And I think like, if you're not like, I would put us in a relatively successful music artist realm. You more than me right now, girlfriend. Like, you're absolutely crushing it. And it's so fun to watch. And I think like maybe there's a shift that's gonna happen or happening already. That's like, we really are pouring ourselves into the thing. And like, I can really see that in your show. It's really beautiful to watch. Like, not even just like you pouring yourself out on stage and your presence, but like from, the production and the band. And you have like so many people on that stage. It's a huge band. And I'm thinking about like, you're like the train conductor of that entire thing. Like, you hired all those players and you're hiring that entire team. There's so much that goes into it. And I think sometimes from a, people who don't understand it, or from a maybe fan perspective, kind of just maybe think it all just kind of comes together. And I, as someone who really understands what you're doing, I am so like in awe and inspired and proud of you. Like, you are investing so much of yourself, and it's really showing up, like it's paying off, and it's cool to watch anyway.
I mean, likewise, I don't know. I think you don't, I don't think you, I think actually, I do think you realize, but it's like when you like walk the walk and actually kind of like, like everything that you've done in the last like couple of years, and like taking your time out and like coming back in the way that you are, like, it's like, it's important. Like it matters, because you have like a reverberation to like the kind of community around you. And like you really do. Like, it's like when you actually kind of, when someone actually does it and you like show a way for others. And it's only by doing that do you kind of like change the kind of atmosphere around everything. So I think you did that. You've done that for me too. It's true leadership. I love how we just like we literally just signed on and just started talking. We didn't even go like, okay, yeah, we're starting the podcast. We basically forgot that we're doing a podcast.
I know. Well, I was thinking about calling you last week because I wanted to check in on, just because I knew you were off the road a bit, and I wanted to see like how you were doing. And then I think I heard that you like, oh yeah, I'll do the podcast. And I was like, well, I'll just catch up with it. But I mean, I should still call you because there's probably things I can't ask. But no, I'm thank you for saying all that. And I hope, I just think the world of you. And I also, I think you already know this, but like, I'm so in your corner. And I think, there might be a perception of, even with female artists, like we're like kind of head to head or competing with each other, or like comparing ourselves to each other. And like, yeah, I mean, it's true. I see a hot photo of you and I'm like, if anything, I'm inspired.
Absolutely. I just adore you. So inspired by you. And just cherish and cheer.
Yeah. I got your back, girlfriend. The minute you need me.
Oh, you're too much. You are too much.
Too much.
You're too much.
Well, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. And this was a lovely way to spend what day is it today? I have no idea. It's a lovely way to spend a Wednesday morning. Alrighty.
All right. Love ya. I'll call you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Talkhouse Podcast, and thanks to Suki Waterhouse and Ashe for chatting. If you liked what you heard, please follow Talkhouse on your favorite podcasting platform and check out all the great stuff at talkhouse.com. This episode was produced by Myron Kaplan, and the Talkhouse theme is composed and performed by The Range. See you next time.